Hey, what's up? My name is Sasuke and welcome to another Clash Royale video. Check out the deck on the left. I've become the cancer. So this deck contains the Royal Giant. Let's just watch some games. Okay, our first opponent will be Habibi Kobe from the clan main Kuo. He's using some kind of Giant Skeleton, Giant Beatdown deck. Giant Skeleton is a pretty interesting card. It has a lot of applications against cards like Elite Barbarians and Wizard and stuff like that. It's great at stopping pushes where you use these kind of mid-tier units that are not like Giant or Hog Rider, because he distracts them, and he really distracts them for a really long time. Unfortunately, he's not that great against a Royal Giant. So our opponent here is a little insane. He uses the Rocket to counter my Princess. He has a Goblin Gang to stop my Royal Giant, so my Royal Giant will only be able to deal about 700 points of damage to the tower before dying, which is still a sick amount considering that my opponent countered my Royal Giant. So, you know, Royal Giant is a pretty strong card. The Fireball here just to weaken the Goblin Heart a little bit, and also because I don't really have much to put onto the battlefield to counter the Goblin Heart, I need my Princess and my Ice Wizard to counter these spawn buildings. Ice Wizard is especially good against spawn buildings because he manages to stop every single wave coming from ever reaching a tower if he's unopposed. So here comes the Barbarians to counter the Giant. Barbarians are an integral part of this deck, I think, because you need strong defensive options before you can plop down your Royal Giant to do massive damage to the opponent's arena towers. A wow here from my opponent because every single rare of his is level 9. Not that I am one to complain because my Royal Giant is over leveled as well, and that is the true cancer of the ladder. As is my Princess. The arrows here will take out the Princess. Princess is okay at stopping spawn buildings, but she's too easily countered. A single lock or a single fireball is not going to kill your Ice Wizard, but either of these, or even arrows, will just take out your Princess. Princess is more of like a support option for the Royal Giant to clear swarm troops that are in his way, because the Royal Giant can actually take a lot of hits, and the Princess does a good job of taking the hit away from the Royal Giant while he's distracting the Skeleton Army or the Goblin Gang that's hammering away at him. The Fireball and the Royal Giant combined will do a lot of damage to the arena tower. As you can see, this deck doesn't take a lot of skill. You just need to plop down the Royal Giant either on the bridge or behind your King Tower, and he's just going to do his job. So you are definitely going to have an easy time against opponents that don't play a lot of defensive buildings like Infernal Tower or Tombstone. Infernal Tower is especially bad for us, and it will be an easy win with the Royal Giant. Alright, our second opponent will be Chris Stoker from the clan Dos Diablo. So this opponent is apparently playing some kind of Hog Cycle deck, which is a pretty even matchup depending on how you play, because we do have the Princess and Ice Wizard that actually stops most of his cycles coming towards us. However, we don't really have a good defensive option for the Hog Rider because we don't play any defensive buildings. So we have to use stuff like Barbarian, Minion, Ice Wizard to stop the Hog Rider, which isn't great. The best bet we have for stopping Hog Rider is the Goblin Gang, but the Goblin Gang can be easily locked or zapped. So our opponent here, his zap instantly kills our minions, which already tells me that something is wrong. And after the match, I would check my opponent and see that he has a max level zap, which is pretty insane. He can one-shot zap my goblins, my minions. When your minions die to zap instantly, you know something's up. The Goblin Gang here will just take out the Musketeer for a positive elixir trait, as well as the cannon, softening up the cannon for our Royal Giant to do a lot of work onto his tower. So the lock here is a little bit late. I do suffer from a little bit of lag because I'm playing in Southeast Asia, but that's okay. We still managed to lock the main target that we were going for, which was the skeletons. The opponent here not being able to stop the Royal Giant at all because it's a Hog Cycle deck. He doesn't play the Skeleton Army, which crushes the Royal Giant. Barbarians here to eat up the Musketeer, as well as initiate a push on their own. Barbarians are always worth making a negative elixir trade with because they make they're such a menacing threat once they manage to counter whatever was coming your way. And here you can see another application of the Princess, which is to destroy defensive buildings across the river. The Princess has such an incredible range, so she's great at taking care of enemy cannons, tombstones, and Inferno. Unfortunately, maybe not Inferno Towers. She does too little damage to Inferno Towers to actually matter for the Royal Giant. So our opponent is not exactly well equipped to deal with a level 12 Royal Giant, and you can see how easily we can bag the win here just by dropping our Royal Giant on the bridge and defending every single thing he throws at us. Which again is why I say that the Royal Giant is a cancer, because as long as you have even an even level Royal Giant will cause a lot of pain to a deck which is not well equipped to take care of him, and it takes so little skill to play. All you need to do is drop him, play maybe minions or Goblin Gang to support him, and he'll do a whole bunch of damage to the tower. It's not like a Hog Rider or a P.E.K.K.A that requires a lot of support and maneuvering to do enough damage to the tower. So my opponent managed to get a tower on the left, but I made a decision to focus my energy on the tower on the right instead of defending the tower on the left, so that I can get a 2 crown for my crown chest. And it should be a pretty easy win here with our Royal Giant with so much health and a Fireball for good measure. Okay, our last opponent will be some kind of mix between a Goblin Barrel, Royal Giant, as well as Area of Effect, Splash Damage kind of deck, which is pretty interesting because our deck, even though it packs the Royal Giant, is surprisingly weak to Area of Effect cards like the Wizard and the Valkyrie. As you will see, the Wizard just wiping out this push, this 8 elixir push. He didn't even need the Fireball. I don't know why he dropped a Fireball on the Barbarians. The Wizard will just mop up Barbarians by himself. So here, our few options of dealing with the Wizard are the Royal Giant and the Ice Wizard, both of which crumble easily without the Arena Tower's support. And of course we have the Fireball, just to soften up the Wizard. Goblin Gang here will get locked, pretty obviously. And I was contemplating using the Princess to support the Royal Giant. I still went ahead with it. I thought twice about it because my opponent dropped a Valkyrie over there, but Valkyrie is not excellent defense against the Royal Giant, and I'm glad I dropped the Princess because my opponent has a minion horde that he placed on top of our Royal Giant. But as you can see, the Princess is not the best support card for the Royal Giant. You still need something else. You need like a Log or the Ice Wizard. Minion horde is basically a instant counter to our Royal Giant, if you put it that way, because the Princess doesn't actually mop them up in time before they take out the Royal Giant. Your best bet is to do a prediction Fireball in case you know your opponent has the minion horde. So a predictive lock here will take out the Skeleton Army. I thought that our opponent would use like Goblin Gang or something. Right, Skeleton Army is just good. So our opponent is well equipped to deal with our Barbarians and Goblin Gangs with Valkyrie. I'm not going to do anything to the Valkyrie here because she's already going to die. Goblin Gang here to counter the Goblin Barrel. The Goblin Gang serves as a sort of semi-skeleton army when it comes to Goblin Barrels and stuff like that. So our Royal Giant here will be able to take out the tower with little skill involved on our part. Most of the skill in playing this deck comes from defending against the opponent. You just have to drop the Royal Giant on the bridge, or look at the current placement I had for my Royal Giant, right smack in the middle of the opponent's side of the arena. This is a great place to place the Royal Giant because he doesn't need to walk the few steps to cross the bridge, and it allows that pocket over there allows you to place support troops around the Royal Giant to soften the impact of any defending troops they might have. So I didn't need to roll the lock on those units. The Princess will have been able to mop them up. Goblin Barrel here should be able to take out our tower, but he didn't have enough time for it to take out our tower, so it's a win for us. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Do tune in each week for more Cancer decks, Clash Royale decks. And as always, love yourself and take care. Bye bye.